you know, I think sometimes what tends to happen is a lot of people who are in good jobs, who are very bright, who may want to go into business for themselves
Yes,
because they
the
feel.
dynamics of the market has been changing from last many years, especially if you talk about the COVID. The COVID scenario has changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
Biggest challenge today would be innovation in our line of business. Um, the landscape is changing so fast.
The COVID-19 pandemic caused a significant disruption for many business. For example, in 2022, around 1 lakh small businesses in the US permanently closed due to the loss of revenue and lockdown. Additionally, the hospitality industry faced massive declines, with many hotels reporting occupancy rates below than 20%. These challenges force companies to adapt quickly to face failures. How they have managed their strategy, how they have rebuilt themselves. In today's podcast, we will be having all the answers of these questions because we have a special guest today, Amit Radia. He had been working in printing industry from last many years. But in COVID, he faced a lot of challenges and how he overcame all those challenges. He will answer and we will get a solution. If whenever you face this kind of problem in future, how can you rebuild yourself? So without any further delay, let's dive into the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Amit Radia in today's broadcast. He has been working in printing industry from last 30 plus years. Thank you so much for your precious time.
My pleasure.
The honor is totally mine. When I was going through your profile, I have seen that you have been working in media, in print media from last 30 plus years, right? And in COVID time, you have faced a lot of challenges. So for the better understanding of our audience, I want you to tell yourself, tell about your business and the challenges you had faced in that period of time. A brief introduction about yourself.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. Yeah. So first of all, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to myself and my background. I'm Amit Radia. I run a printing company group called Atlas Print and Media, and I've been in Dubai for the last 32 years. Came here in '92 from England. Uh, but my background is print and media for the last 42 years. So that's all I've done all my life. I was born in Africa, in Kenya, first 21 years, then lived in England, same business for 11 years. Came to Dubai in '92, thinking of for a couple of years, but loved it so much, decided to stay in and never went back. And that's when I decided to set up Atlas, and here we are today. So basically, a print man we've had to evolve a lot, which I'll go into a little bit later. But yeah, uh, based out of Dubai, and we are now in the process of also expanding into other parts of the GCC as well, including Saudi and Qatar. Yeah. Okay. So to tell you a bit of a background on, we started Atlas Printing Press in Dubai in 1990. I came in '92 on an assignment for an international company that wanted to set up a base in Dubai, which I did for them, and then saw the potential for print, which was obviously having been in the business for such a long time. I could see that there was a serious need for some good quality print house. So I started evaluating that and set up Atlas in '93 and early '94 as a small offset printing house. Dubai, obviously, you can imagine, was a very uh, much smaller than what you see today. I'm not sure a lot of you may not even have been here at that time, or probably not even born. So, bottom line was it was a small town, a pleasant change from London, good weather. I had kids, and obviously it was a great place to bring up kids. So decided to take the plunge. Started off very small initially in near Garhoud, offset printing as it was in those days traditionally. But we've always been a little bit more prone to investing in a little bit more modern technology, which I'll also explain in a little while. But yeah, I mean, Dubai was small. We started off small, and when Dubai grew, by the grace of God. We also grew with that and expanded into a lot more, a much bigger setup over the next 10 years. So 93, 94, and then Dubai really took off in 96, 97 when it started to entice people to come in and make investments, and it started to fill up. And basically from 98, 99 up till 2008 were the best years in Dubai for growth and business. So it was still a lot more affordable, but it became started to become much more competitive and obviously aggressively priced. But in a way, it was a good benefit because it also then allowed the marketplace to grow much faster. So that's us in a nutshell, Atlas. Today, we are, and I will explain that in detail as to why, but today we are a complete different business model to what we were 10 years ago. We are a digital hybrid production house, not a traditional offset printing house. We do offset printing, but that's not our core business. And you asked me a little bit earlier on, you want me to explain about the pivoting we did during COVID? Is that what you would? Okay. So, like I said, pre-COVID, we were one of the largest printers of magazines here. We had big offset presses, the web offset presses, which are quite large, and literally 2-3 stories high, 60 meters long, meant for long run printing of magazines and books, which was a good business for the first 5-10 years. And over time, we evolved into magazines, which was publishing printing, and also into printing for exhibitions, as well as airlines was a big growth potential for us. So what we had done is, although after the 2008 economic turndown, there were a lot of issues to contend with, I started to, at that stage, remodel the business, but in a very, very slow manner, knowing that digital was slowly encroaching upon our business. And eventually, digital would become a big part of our business. What COVID did was bring it up much quicker. So it was a painful process, but sometimes that's what you need to do to move fast. So from a traditional offset, large print house in 2019, early 2020, COVID hit us in 2020. We lost. We had to face a lot of issues. We lost a lot of our customers shut down, airlines shut down, exhibitions shut down, publishing shut down. And we weren't sure how long it was going to last. So at that stage, I had to take a few hard calls and start deciding which way to go. And it took me 18 months to completely turn the business around, sell off a lot of the old legacy equipment and reinvest back into digital. So in a little while, I'll explain to you what we do from the digital perspective. But if there's any other issues around the existing business model, that's how we are what we are today. So in today's day and age, in the UAE, we have the largest digital production capacity for digital production. Plus, our investments over the last 3 years especially have been primarily into digital, but different formats of digital print. So we have, toner-based equipment, we have UV-based printing equipment, water-based latex, pigment-based, electrostatic magnetic ink-based. So we can print on anything and everything. Print hasn't died. It's just evolved into a completely different ballgame. Printing on paper, still there, decreasing by the year, but increasing dramatically is printing on all other substrates, be it wallpapers, large format paintings, the works. Plus, we invested heavily into variable data softwares to do personalized printing, which is also very, very big growth potential, as well as short-run, high-quality packaging. Because what COVID taught us was that everybody relied on China so much for the long-run imports from packaging, which was very, very cheap. But when the logistics issues happened and freight rates went up and people found it extremely difficult to deal and get stuff from China, that's when I saw an opportunity. And this is sometimes, like I said, as an entrepreneur, a threat has sometimes got to be looked at as an opportunity as well. And that's when I say, okay, fine, here's a chance for us to now get back into a short run, high quality, because Dubai is the retail capital of the Middle East, and there is a lot of small businesses opening up. So we decided to focus on that. So we went into retail merchandising, equipment for that, shopping bags, rigid box making, cardboard box making, but high quality. We don't focus on the big volume printing of that because that's a completely different ball game. And yes, today we are fairly well renowned for that in the market because we work with a lot of the high-end brands, cosmetics, chocolates, packaging for gifting, that sort of thing. High quality brands, even cars. So yeah, it's opened up a brand new market for us and it's growing for us.
Very well said. And I think every ending opens the door of a new beginning. I have another question that a lot of young people, aspiring people, they have talent, they have ideas, but unfortunately, they don't take the first step. So, what is one advice that you want to give to them from your experience? What is your take on it?
Changing so rapidly that technology has to be a big part of your business, whatever it is. So all I would say is, first of all, I think sometimes what tends to happen is a lot of people who are in good jobs, who are very bright, who may want to go into business for themselves because they feel that there is potential, may be a little reluctant to give up that life because they're getting a good steady income and they may have commitments and it all becomes a little bit tougher. Whereas if you've got nothing to lose, which is what I was, because I was obviously a lot younger then, but when I said nothing to lose, I'd finished my project and I had a choice either go back to the UK or look at doing this. This obviously was much more appealing. So when you have less to lose, I think people tend to be a little bit more daring about investing. Now, obviously, again, it depends on what kind of business we are doing. I mean, ideally, you want to go into a business which you know. You can't just jump into another. If you're selling, clothes, you can't jump into going into print or whatever unless you know the business very well. So all I would say is everybody has a little fear. It's not easy. You're risking. Sometimes you have little capital. Obviously, banks sometimes are not very willing to support you at that stage because they also feel nervous. So I don't blame anybody getting a little nervous. It just takes, what I think is that you have to have conviction. If you have conviction in your business model, you know that there is a need for it. And yes, every business has competition, so you cannot say that I will rule the roost or you until you're obviously of a certain size. But I think one has to have conviction in their product because I think when you pitch to whether it's to raise funds, I mean today's day and age, startups are very, very common, and they get funded by venture capitalists or even startup angel investors. They unless you can prove to the investors that you have knowledge and conviction, you will not be able to make a go of it. So bottom line is it's not something you should go into unless you yourself 100% convinced. Once you're convinced, it's very easy to convince the rest. Believe you me. And today, when I talk about that, give you examples of today. I mean, obviously, I still meet some of our corporate clients and I go and I talk to people. Sometimes I go with my account handlers or sales guys to meet new clients and you can't stop me talking about the business because they all look at me and say, my God, you've got so much passion. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. It's not about being the biggest. You've got to know that my company, what I'm selling is good. May not be the cheapest in the world. You don't have to be. But if you can prove what you're producing or going to service you're going to provide is worth it, you will always find a customer. I always tell my salespeople that you are an account handler or a salesperson. What's the difference? Is basically a salesperson convinces the customer why he or she should be paying what we have quoted, as opposed to, they may be getting it cheaper somewhere else. Fine, no need to slag them off. But at the end of the day, if you're convinced that what you're providing is a good product, it's a much easier process of trying to convince them. So relating that back to anybody who's thinking of doing a business startup, you've got to have a good idea. You've got to have some capital to start with, obviously. You can't sustain, you need to be able to sustain yourself for at least a couple of years because it does take time sometimes. And a good business plan with conviction. That's all I can say. I mean, don't ever go into it half-heartedly because you will not succeed. A lot of people have this very brilliant ideas and, tech-based, and especially with AI coming on board, and we're doing this. And I get inundated with pitches from on LinkedIn from people who have started up fresh, and what they don't realize is I get 20 of them a day. And it's very difficult for me to justify reading all of them and understanding what, we can help you do this and we'll get you that, blah, blah, blah. Because obviously a lot of them are tech-based. So look at that. The other thing I would say is, with any startup, I mean, if you're a lot younger, there is a lot of opportunity in countries which are not as well invested in as UAE. So opportunities in Africa, opportunities in other parts of the world which are not necessarily as developed. So maybe consider that, because margins there are bigger, costs are, and you're bringing in something there, but then you have to be prepared to, sacrifice a lot and focus on that part of the world. But there is huge opportunities for everyone today. If I often laugh about it, and I said if I was 20 years younger, I would be growing a lot faster because I would have the energy, but not anymore. So yeah, have conviction and don't do it, and commitment, and don't go into it half-heartedly. If you plan on doing a job and also trying to start a business in the evenings, if you're lucky, you'll make it, but it takes a lot longer.
Very well said. And I think having vision and then having capital is the most important thing for the aspiring people who want to start entrepreneurship, who want to start their own startup. Uh, Sir, the market has been changing from last many years. The dynamics of the market has been changing from last many years, especially if you talk about the COVID. The COVID scenario has changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So, how you are maintaining your strategies? Have you revised your strategies from last, if I compare with last 5 years? What are your marketing strategies?
First of all, I mean, like I said, there is always an issue of the biggest challenge today would be innovation in our line of business. People, the landscape is changing so fast, and obviously customers who you serviced maybe 15 years ago, and by the grace of God, we still have a lot of them with us because we've been very supportive of their requirements as they've grown and we've changed. But at the end of the day, there is a relationship which is based on obviously a personal level or a professional level, but also today's line of business is looking at customers' pain points and understanding that more. And the more you've dealt with the customer, the more you're able to understand their pain points, and hence hopefully support them on that and continue dealing with them, because they already know us. They know what we do. We've got a reasonably good reputation. So you're not reinventing the wheel, but you have to be prepared to listen to what they're doing, where the growth is, and then we work accordingly. So as far as I'm concerned, for me, print has evolved so fast that in today's day, in the good old days, you would want to employ somebody who has a print background per se. Whereas in today, I don't look at that. I look at people who have good communication skills, maybe even a background in the business that we are dealing with. So perhaps if it's an hotel or an airline, I often look at recruiting people from that kind of background because they've been on the other side of the table. So I feel that they can empathize with what they were facing in terms of print requirements. Print requirements obviously going down dramatically in terms of volume. But what hasn't gone down is the expectation and the level of personalization, as well as the type of quality they require, which was in the good old days, you had to do a lot larger quantities to justify the kind of cost that they want. So what we pitch to the client is, we're not forcing you to take print. A lot of clients have shut down magazines. They've gone on to digital trying to advertise on the net. A lot of them have not done exceedingly well on that because today the net is inundated with ads which are most irritating, popping up all the time. So you have to have a little bit of a pragmatic approach and a realistic approach to say, listen, guys, yes, we understand that, you know, the internet has broken print up to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, print hasn't died. So you have to now try and talk to the client and help them understand that what else you can do, which we couldn't do before, which complements their strategy. Because if you think that you're going to pull them away from the net advertising and all that, it won't work today with YouTube and social media and everything. But the thing is, it is not as effective as it's made out to be, unless you're a very, very big brand and you're creating a branding awareness. But from the point of selling, you have no knowledge of what the hits are, whether what you're paying is getting value for money. But then, to be fair, that was the same thing in the good old days when you put adverts in the magazines and newspapers. You weren't sure whether the circulation was getting to the right target audience. So I think a lot of the clients we've worked with, especially airlines per se, we have communicated a lot of other aspects of print, which allows them to target because they have details on their customers. So we put in a lot more personalization into their print collateral, and then they get feedback on that, and that allows them to become a little bit more, because today it's all about personalization. So you just have to be innovative. You can't just sell ink on paper anymore. We don't. We sell solutions. So whether it's a branding company for a large cosmetics, or whether it's an airline, or it's a exhibition management, we try to be a one-stop shop solution for that. So you're coming. Dubai is the exhibition capital of the Middle East. A large international client may be coming here to exhibit. They don't want to run around looking around for 20 different suppliers, one for t-shirts, one for stands, one for boxes or whatever. So in that way, we're not an agency, but we are a hybrid production house. Our guys are all trained. The whole production team works together to say, okay, what do you need? What's your budget? And then we fit everything within that budget for them and say, okay, and you just need to give us the full brief, and then we'll take it over from there and make sure that your stuff is delivered on time at the exhibition. Because especially for companies who are coming into UAE, very difficult to try and find the right vendors or suppliers, especially if you don't have a background here. Even for existing companies, we just make their life easier. So like I said, if you make your customers' life easier, you can rest assured they will come back to you.
So these strategies will going to help you a lot. New entrepreneurs, note it down. I will be like going to link my next question. The previous one you have talked about the strategies, but I have seen that you have a business in Saudi Arabia, you have business in Kenya as well. You are working in international market as well. So how you are maintaining a good clientele in that particular market, and what is your advice to those people who want to target those areas?
So when I said, that's a very good question, actually, because initially our business model was focused primarily on B2B with large run printing, primarily in the UAE. Obviously, COVID taught us that wasn't a very good strategy for the growth in the long run, because obviously, apart from the capex of investing in other countries, it wasn't really going to grow that much. So what we do now, you see, you also have to look at the new generations, Generation X, Y, millennials. They have a completely different game set in terms of how they want to buy stuff. Obviously, how they evaluate a company. Branding is important, but it's not necessarily the main focus. So what we are doing now is, we've launched over COVID, by the way, I forgot to mention, we launched an e-commerce site called Print Souk, which is run by my daughter and her team. And we have a team in India and we have a team here, and focus on a lot more social media marketing on that, creating brand awareness. And that is growing exceptionally well. So what I have done now is Atlas has become the production partner with Print Souk. We have launched Print Souk within the GCC. The biggest challenge we were facing is people are not willing to wait. They want small quantities, but they want it now. So what we have decided is, rather than having one huge setup and then trying to do logistics out of that, We are setting up smaller digital production centers within the GCC because of Prince, which is easier to then supply to that local market within 48 hours. Because normally on e-commerce, it can't take you more than 48 to 72 hours to make sure the goods are there, printed and delivered. And we also have a lot of B2C, well, B2SMEs, B2C, B2Bs are also coming on board with us. But that is a strategy for us that you have to deliver. People don't want to be stuck with ordering 500. They will ring up and they will go online, they design the whole thing themselves, they'll swipe their card. I want 20 boxes of this, and I want it like now. And we've automated software background into a thing, so it all integrates seamlessly into our production unit. So it's actually, there's no more of this huge thing about emails going up and forth with that and that and the other. A lot of the times, people are happy to design their own stuff. A lot of the times, we support them by giving them a design. But the best bit is the workflows and the software that we're investing in have allowed us to monitor all the production centers from a central base and also know what's going on. So if there's a job wanted in Riyadh, we will be able to, we're setting up in Riyadh in the first quarter of this year, and we've literally finally got our licenses and all that, took a little while. But it'll be seamless with the Dubai integration. So materials, and if it doesn't have the ability to do it there, we'll do it out of here and send it. But 80% of the work will be done there. And it'll be, the whole teams which are based there will be coordinating and working seamlessly with Dubai as well. And the same will happen with Jeddah and maybe Dammam. So the idea is to become a seamless organization, but smaller production units to be able to react quickly, because that is the key today, personalization and to market very, very fast. Also, I think what tends to happen is the younger generation per se are very, very comfortable with this. So gone are the days, I mean, when you see the likes of all these Amazons and Noons and, even Temu, for instance, I mean, doing exceedingly well. I'm not sure how well, but they have a very easy process of onboarding you as a client, and they give you the benefit of reducing the risk that you're not going to get stuck with that. Because what was the biggest challenge everybody had before? If I order, it shows up on my door and I don't like it. So reviews are important. We obviously give our clients the assurance that if if we have not come up with the quality, then we're happy to look at it and redo it. So that does give confidence to the customers. So the idea is to grow it across the GCC. The brand is more important at that stage. But we're in a very fortunate position because not a lot of e-commerce print companies have the ability to set up their own production units, which we do. So we will have our own smaller production units spread across, and Prince Souk, which will be the marketing arm of that. So gone are the days of sending a salesman with a briefcase trying to get orders. We will not work like that. But what will happen and make it easy to manage is the seamless integration of the softwares in the background, which we have invested a lot, and it's not cheap. But it's allowing us to a lot more smoother with a lot fewer people.
And I think quality matters rather than quantity, and you should be focusing on quality, as Amit said. We have a surprise rapid fire question for you, and a lot of people think that entrepreneurs have a very busy schedule, they don't do other things as well, but they are also humans. So I will be asking you a rapid fire questions, and you have to answer them very quickly. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Dream job as a child?
Being a veterinarian.
Okay, vegetarian, right? So what was the best advice you got in your childhood?
I think that was when I actually started my business. My father was still alive, and he was very proud of the fact because he was an entrepreneur. My other brothers were all professionals. I was the first one in the family to go into business, and he was always a businessman, and he was very proud of the fact that I was starting my own. But he gave me a bit of piece of advice. He said, you will start your business and you'll be working for yourself for a while. You'll do well. You'll grow a little bigger. You'll have people working for you. You grow a bit more bigger, you'll have more people working for you. And then you'll get to a stage where you'll have quite a lot of people working for you, and you'll be working for them. Because your lifestyle you've achieved, you've done everything, is not going to improve dramatically. So he always said that you have to look after your people and make sure, because people make a company. You can have all the machinery in the world, but if you don't have the right backup team support in HR, the kind of guys you can trust on, you've got to make sure you pay them first before you pay yourself, because it's important that they grow. They're very ambitious, and if as a leader you need to think of them. He says so you will be working for them in the end, which is actually very true. So that I always kept it in mind. So today I'm in a position where we are reasonably. I mean, we're not huge, but we're SME. But I have a fantastic bunch of guys working with me, much younger than me, and I'm learning from them every day. So never ever having been based even in the business for 40 years, it's evolved so much that even today I'm learning, and I'm learning from my teams, the younger guys. So what keeps me going is uh, interacting with them. It's not only about the thing; it's a thrill. When they have fresh ideas, I sit with them. They obviously know a lot more about social media marketing and how they would strategize it, and they probably have a little bit more connection with the younger generation who we were targeting. And I learn, and I think that's great. So you can never stop learning. That was the other bit of advice I would say, that never become arrogant. Never try to think that I know better than you because I've been in this business for 40 years. No, it's not. Those days are gone. You both work as a team. We call ourselves Team Atlas. And I love the fact that, I come to the office, I work, I do my bit, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm indispensable, because they should really be running the company, which they do. So yeah,
Yes.
look after your people and communicate.
One thing that you cannot live without.
Family. I'm very, very oriented on the family. We've just become, we're grandparents now, so I love it. Very important.
You don't look like a grandparent right now because the kind of fitness you are maintaining. After the podcast, I need to take some sort of tips from you how to maintain a good fitness. Summer or winter?
Winter.
Favorite destination to travel?
Nation to travel. I mean, I went to Japan recently, which loved it. And too many other countries to mention, but I do like the Far East very much, and Africa, because I have a home in Kenya as well. So I go back quite regularly, which is a completely different environment. So I would say Kenya as well. Yeah.
This is the end of a rapid fire round, and now we have to come back on the track. And now I want to discuss a very serious topic in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of business journey. That a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, afraid of pivoting because this is the one thing that they don't want to do. But on the other side, I was reading somewhere from 2016 to 2022, a lot of businesses were shut down in just first 2 years. 25% of them, 50% of them were shut down in just 5 years, and 75% will be shut down in first 10 years. So why they have fears of pivoting? On the other side, at COVID time, you have pivoted your business totally. So how to overcome all these fears of pivot? Can you share your experience?
So I totally agree with you. And especially I feel sorry for the people who had just started pre-COVID and then got hit by this um, catastrophe, as I would like to call it, which is through no fault of their own. I mean, they came in with all full ambitions, and then something happens like this, and all business is shut down, and especially if you're in a business which was affected dramatically. Look, it's difficult because we were fortunate. We've been in the market for so many years, but although we had high overheads, but we have had years of building up our reserves and you know our not, I wouldn't say wealth, but we've got good reserves to keep us going for a couple of years, which we did. Startups and new companies not necessarily have that, and especially if you're in a business where you don't know and you're suddenly invested, whether it's 100,000 or $500,000 in a business, and suddenly everything comes to a standstill. It's scary. It's scary. A lot of people, uh, but again, it comes back to, do you have the confidence? You also have to have a lot of negotiation skills, because you have to make you understand that today you have to have foresight to say, it may last 1 month, it may last 6 months, it may last 2 years. In this case, it lasted a year and a half. you have to be realistic. You don't want to lose all your other money in throwing it after paying rents and whatever and not generating any revenue. So I would say it was a bit of bad luck in terms of for people who started maybe a year or two before the COVID hit us. If you were in a business which had low overheads and perhaps you're working on a SaaS model or something which you can work from home, fine. There was no reason for you to shut down. I'm talking about people who invested in things like restaurants or delivery. I mean, okay, deliveries did very well, but whatever the may, whether it's some manufacturing or whatever. So that it's just bad luck. But they shouldn't be. That's not the end of the world, right? I mean, you've lost some money. You get what is success? Is you keep on failing and you pick yourself up and keep on trying. And one day it will come. You will have the right time and the right thing. I mean, for me, it was best coming into Dubai at the right time when Dubai was a lot smaller and there was a need for what I did. And I provided a service which they were not used to in print because I was very focused on quality and servicing. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. A lot of the times, circumstances like that are beyond our control. All I can say is it's a shame. It does happen. Uh, you just got to learn to deal with it, but don't get distraught with the fact that, oh my God, my life is over. It's not. It's a business. You dust yourself, get back on the feet. May take a little bit longer. And, today, if you look at Dubai, for instance, I mean, it's booming. Would you have imagined this 3 years ago? No, you wouldn't have. I didn't imagine it. I thought it would never get back to what it was before. It's actually better than what it was before because Dubai is such an attractive place to work out of that a lot of the people from all over the world are flocking into this country. And the government's done a fantastic job. They're motivating and incentivizing people to come here. Property prices have gone up. Everybody's doing well. In fact, too well because the traffics and all that traffic is ridiculous. But it's an opportunity. So you have to just learn to deal with this. I mean, it's nothing to do with the generation. I actually feel quite sorry for them because, it was just bad luck in terms of how it happened. I mean, it's obviously happened in the past centuries when you had, the scourge of wars and World War One or World War Two, Gulf Wars. People got affected today. Look at it with what's happening in the region. If you are in Palestine or whatever, and you've just started a business and this happens, or in Ukraine, is it fair? No, it's not. But life is not fair. That I'll tell you for sure. It's how you deal with it. That's more important.
Very well said and very well explained. And I think we have a lot of things to discuss, but unfortunately, at the end, we have a time limit. So before leaving, I want you to give any advice to young people for aspiring entrepreneurs. They're confused, want to do something in their life, but they are surviving from very hard time. Your advice.
Uh, to be an entrepreneur, you've got to have a certain mindset. And like I told you earlier, you do not, first of all, you've got to have knowledge of the business that you're going into. So don't go into a restaurant business if you've never done any kind of restaurant work, even including being a waiter or even a chef. Don't even think about it because it's a completely different model. Print, similarly, whatever the business you go into, know the business well. Yeah, plan it in such a way. Do not go into it half-heartedly, for sure. Don't ever make that mistake because if you don't have your 110% commitment, you will not succeed at all. And believe in yourself. Everybody is smart. It's how you portray yourself. So communication skills, people skills, very, very important. Today, when you're talking to banks or you're talking to clients, communication and people skills are the most important. I know guys who are far, far more academically brighter and in school and whatever, who are a lot of them are just working in dead-end jobs because they're happy to be in the corporate life. They work their hours, they go away, but they've never, ever utilized their intelligence. So it's not about intelligence. It's about people skills, communication skills, and that ability you've got to be a salesman all your life, whether you're selling a product or you go to sell yourself. So when you go to meet somebody, if you have full faith and belief in yourself, you will sell everything you're doing. So have faith in yourself, have full commitment and knowledge of the business. Don't go into businesses just for the sake of because it's a trend or it's a fashionable thing to do, you will not succeed. Those are the only three keys I can think of, because as an old school, I always believe that you know your product 100%, that's half the battle done.
Thank you so much for your precious time, and I think you will going to love this podcast. Leave a comment, your favorite part over here, and do subscribe the channel. We will going to meet you in the next podcast. Till then, take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure.